Hello everyone, I hope you guys are doing well and welcome back to another video of AI Sciences. In this video we are going to learn how to create your own Google Chrome browser using Python PyQt5. Sounds cool, right? So to initiate with this project you just need to have Python installed within your system. You need to have any IDE for that. Let's say I am using Jupyter Notebook. So for that you just need to have Anaconda installed in your system, and from here you can launch Jupyter Notebook. Okay? So let's get started with the code. First we have to install PyQt5 by writing pip install PyQt5. Okay. Oh, I'm gonna run this over here and it's running, right? So since it is already installed in my system, it says that the requirement already satisfied. So what is PyQt5? I have given a link over here for your ease. It's already open actually. So what does it say? It says that basically PyQt5 is a comprehensive set of Python bindings for Qt version 5. It basically allows the users to configure or enhance the functionality of applications. Alright. Now since we know what is PyQt5, we need to input this package. Let's get back to our code. Okay, so for that we will be writing from PyQt5 dot qt widgets. Okay, and then we'll be importing everything. For that we just have to write import static. Let's just run this, and as you can see it is running properly, and we have imported everything from PyQt5 widgets. So we need to create a class right now. Okay, so that you just have to write class and then give it a name. Let's say we're gonna name it main window, and then we are supposed to pass it a parameter which is known as q main window. Okay, and then we are supposed to end it with a colon. Alright, now in this class the first thing we are supposed to do is create a constructor. Now constructor is nothing but a function, so I'll type def just like a function, and I'll be writing double underscore init double underscore and passing it self. Now what does it mean? It means that basically a constructor is being created for the current class. Okay, now afterwards I'll type super and I'll pass it the parameters main window, okay, self, and you are supposed to write over here double underscore after a dot init double underscore parenthesis. Now if you don't know what it means, basically it means that this is creating a super strong connection with this main class, right? Alright, so after this we write self dot show maximized. So what does it mean? Basically this means that your browser, the window that you are creating, will be in the maximized mode. Okay, that's it. It just simply means that it will be in a full screen mode. So now we have created a tiny class, as you can see, and we need to have a glance at how it looks. Okay, so let's have a view of it. For that purpose we need to create an application. You know, make sure you don't do any indentation mistakes. So we need to create an application that would be our Q application, right? And we need to pass it some system argument. Now how do we do that? We need to import system for that. Okay, you simply have to do what you have to do. You have to import, you have to write import sys, and that's it. Okay, if we run this code, okay, we have a problem here. Yeah, it's not supposed to be in the installation category. Okay, we are not installing it, we are importing it. So make sure you don't make that mistake, the one that I just made. And if you run this, you can see it has been imported now, and you don't have to install it because it's a built-in environment of Python. Now let's get back to our code over here and pass it the system arguments. We have to write sys.argv. Okay, afterwards we will have to call Q application, and we have to set an application name, right? So write set application name, and we have to name it as, anything. For now I'm gonna name it Python browser. This N has to be capital, by the way. Right. You can name it anything too, anything fancy that you like my cool browser or my fancy browser or anything you like. Then you create a window, and that window would be your main window, the class that you created right over here. Okay, so basically we have created an object of this. The last thing we need to do is we have to call the application and we have to tell it to execute, right? Just like this. So let's just test our code by running it. Before running the code, I just saw a mistake. Make sure that you don't do the same mistake. The spelling have to be the same. Okay, let's just run our code. Okay, it should be showing a blank window. Let's just wait. Okay, we have an error over here. Just a minute. Alright, so we have a dead kernel over here. So let's just restart the kernel and run it all. And now it's working. As you can see, we have a blank window over here. So basically we wrote circa 10 lines and we have a window of browser over here. Right now it's blank, it's not fancy, but don't worry, soon enough you'll be browsing on your personal browser, right? So you just have to add a few more lines and you'll see how the magic works. So let's just get back to our code again. So now we need to create a browser, okay? So we'll go over here and type self.browser, and here the parameter will be some other Qt package. So we'll go up over here, and over here we are going to write from PyQt5.qt web engine widgets, and we are going to import everything from it, right? Alright, and let's just try to run it by pressing shift enter. Okay, we have an error over here. Why does this error occur? Okay, we just need to install it, right? So let's just install it. I'm gonna write over here, okay, this one has already been installed, so that is the reason I committed it. And I'm gonna write over here pip install and PyQt web engine. And now if you run it, okay, what's the problem over here? Okay, let's just simply write it in another cell over here. I'm gonna write this over here, and okay, alright, now it's working. It says that you may need to restart the kernel to use the updated packages. Okay, so I'm gonna restart the kernel now. Restart and run cells, and it's gonna work now. So don't worry about this error. It's because we imported the Qt web engine widgets, but we have not mentioned it over here. So I'm gonna write over here is equal to Q web engine view parenthesis, right? This simply means that we will be able to have a web view over here, okay? And then we'll write self.browser, okay, self.browser.set URL, okay? Here we need to set URL in the form of QURL. To use QURL, we need some help from the PyQt. For that purpose, we'll go up over here and we'll say from PyQt5.qt core, we are going to import everything. Alright, and if we run this, okay, yeah, it's running. So forget about this error. It's because our code is not complete yet. So we were at the URL, and now we need to use the QURL, and let's say for the time being we say it is going to be http://google.com. alright, google.com. So after that we just need to add one more line, that is going to be self.set central widget, and that central widget is going to be your self.browser. Alright, now let's just try running our code. Okay, it's running, and let's see. Okay, the kernel appears to have died. Let's just restart it. Some bugs and glitches we have to face most of the time, but it's okay. And over here we are, and within a few seconds you can see that the Google is opening, right? Now this Google over here basically was the URL that we had set over here, okay, right over here. Okay, so this is not any ordinary Google. You can test it, you can write anything. Let's say I'm gonna write over here Wikipedia, and it's in a working form. It's searching for it, the search engine is working. You can write over here anything, okay, but right now we don't have the basic functionalities, so let's just have a recap. I'm gonna close it for now. So what we did was that we created a class, okay, right over here, and we used the Q web engine view, and and we have set the URL. Okay, it could be any URL. You can write youtube.com, twitter.com, facebook.com, anything you like. All right, and after this we have set the browser as our central widget. Okay, so I'm gonna head back to the browser. Why does it always have to take a lot of time? Okay, restart and run all. And boom, we have a browser. It's not fully functional yet, but we have we have it in a working shape for now. We'll be adding more functions to it to make it more practical. So now if we compare the browser that we made to the official Google Chrome browser, you may notice that there are some controls over it. Right over here it has the back button, it has the forward button, and it has a reload button. Okay, you don't have to worry about it. It's literally a piece of cake. Alright, so you already have a browser in a running shape, right? So we just need to add a few more controls in it, which we call as navigation bar. Alright, you are able to navigate through control. Okay, so let's get back to our code. Close this one as well, and over here we will be creating a navbar. For this we'll create a navbar variable, right, and we'll say that it will be a Q toolbar, right? That means that you are creating a toolbar, and for this toolbar you can say that this class will be adding a toolbar by writing self.add toolbar, and we'll include navbar over here, right? So now if you run the code, okay, again the same thing. Okay, not a big deal. Okay, we have an error over here, do we? Yes we do. Okay, just a minute. Alright, so we have a spelling mistake. You know that Python is a very case sensitive language, so you have to make sure that you don't make such mistakes that I'm making. Alright, so let's just try it now. I think we may need to restart the kernel. Yeah, as usual. Okay. Yes, finally the code is working. So our browser has been opened. Now if you see over here, you may notice that there is a small navigation bar over here, and we have not added anything over here yet. Okay, so we'll be adding some controls over here. We'll be adding the back button, the forward button, the reload button, and also the home button. Alright, so let's get back to our code. I'm gonna close this for now. Alright, so let's just do it in a sequence. Okay, we're gonna create the back button first. For that we need to declare a variable right over here, okay, so we're gonna write back button, and this will be a Q action. Okay, that means some action has to be made, and we're calling it back Okay, we're calling it back, and we're gonna reference it with the current class, which will be self. Okay, now we say that when back button is triggered, okay, at that moment it needs to make some connection, right? And that connection would be with the browser. Okay, self dot browser, connecting it with back. Alright, it means that when someone clicks on the back button, it makes a connection with the browser and tells it to go back. Okay, so now you have coded till here. Now we just need to add the back button in the navbar. So you will simply type navbar dot add action, and that action would be the back button, right? Back button. That's it. Now if you run the code, okay, you know, I'm gonna have a glance later onwards that why do I always have to restart the kernel, but our code is running, so let's just deal with it. Okay, it's opening now, so we need to give it a few seconds. Okay, I'm sure there is some error, and oh, you can see over here that we have the spelling mistake. Alright, so I'm gonna have to close it, and then I'm gonna restart the kernel and run all. Alright, now it has been opened, and as you can see the Google is working, and over here you can see a tiny button which is our back button. Okay, so we're gonna test it. Okay, let's say I'm gonna write over here Wikipedia again, or anything you like. I'm gonna visit some some link, for example the Batman movie, which is the latest movie. So I need to go back now. Okay, somehow I don't like this website, or it appears that I have to go back and select another website. I click on back, and as you can see it's working. Okay, in case you need to check it for anything else, you can write anything. You can write Kalash or anything. Okay, and I'm gonna go back, and yeah, as you can see it is working properly. So let's have a recap to what we did. I'm gonna close this now. So you see within these 5 lines, you created a navbar, right, and you added it to your browser. So then you said that the toolbar is running and it is tiny and empty for the time being. So I need to add a button in it, and you added the back option in it, and you told it that if someone triggers it means that you have to go backwards. Okay, you have to connect to the browser, and eventually you have to go backwards. So basically we now have a functional back button within our browser. So since we are able to create the back button, it is a piece of cake for us to create the forward button, to create the home button, and to create the reload button. Okay, let's get started with it. Let's just say, I'm a lazy person. You just have to follow the same flow with just a little bit of difference. So what I'm going to do over here is copy paste this thing. Alright. And anywhere where it is written back, I just need to rewrite it to forward. Okay. Now we are creating a forward button, and we are calling it forward. We say that when the forward button is triggered, you need to connect to the browser and go forward, right? And we need to add in the navbar. What do we need to add? We need to add the forward button. Alrighty. So now what about the reload button? How could it be? Well, you just have to follow the same flow, man. You just have to copy paste it, or I've already copied the back button. I'm just gonna copy paste it, and I'm gonna say that this time I'm gonna create a reload button, or you can say it's a refresh button, anything you like. I'm gonna call it reload. I say that when the reload button is triggered, what you gotta do? You gotta reload, of course. And what am I adding in the navbar? I am adding the reload button. That's it. So now let's just test it. I'm gonna run the code, but as always I am gonna have to restart it. I hope it's not the case with your machine. I don't know why my system is doing this. There might be some problem. Okay, so We have our Google working, our browser has been open, and we have three buttons. We have back button, we have forward button, and we have reload button. Now, as you may know that the back button and the forward button, they basically interlink each other. Back basically moves you backward, and forward takes you to the previous state that you were in before going backward. Okay, I hope you understand what I'm saying. In case you don't understand what I'm saying, let's just test it. Okay, I'm gonna write over here anything. I'm gonna write over here Ariana Grande, and we have her over here. Okay, so we have the Instagram open. I need to go backwards. I press back, and over here I am. Okay, now let's just search for something else. Let's say Python programming. Okay, I'm coming up with the haphazard title, so I hope you don't mind that. It's just a random state of mind. So over here we are on this website. I'm gonna go back again. It's working. I'm gonna go forward. It's working. Okay, so both these buttons are working. So let's say that in some case our page doesn't load, or it crashes to some point. What we have to do, we have to refresh it. Okay, we have to reload it. So if I press this, you may see that the page is reloading. Okay, go back and choose something else, programmers.com. Over here, reload it, and boom, it's working. Reload it, it's working. Now we have these three buttons. The next thing that we are going to do is going to be quite captivating. We are going to add a home button. Okay, a home button is quite common in many of the browsers. And what's the purpose of the home button? It basically takes you to a specific URL that you define to it. Okay, which it calls as the home page, right? So let's get back to our code. Now this is also going to be similar. I'm gonna paste it over here, and I'm gonna say that I need a home button instead of a back button, and we are going to call it home. And when it triggers, what it does, it takes you to the just a minute, it takes you to the specific method that you're going to define. Let's say I'm going to name it navigate home. All right, so this is the difference that you need to understand over here. Okay, previously for the buttons like back, forward, and reload, we used the preloaded functions, but right now we have to define a function for this. Okay, and now we are going to add this home button. Okay, so now the problem we have is that it is not going to run because it doesn't know what is navigate home. Okay, we have not defined that method. So let's just define this method. I'm gonna write over here def, just like a function, and navigate, we have named it as navigate home with the initial parameter. All right, and colon. So we have to define that where the navigate home method would take us. Okay, so for that purpose, we're going to write, since it's going to be a URL, of course, we are going to write self dot browser dot set URL, and it's going to be in form of QURL. So QURL. So let's say by default, as in most browsers, the default web page is the google.com. I'm gonna write it over here, /google.com. all right, so you're not supposed to write the same URL. Okay, you can write anything. If you can write Twitter, you can write YouTube, anything. Okay, so let's just test it. As always, I'm gonna have to restart it. Alrighty, so it's opening. Okay, I think there might be a problem. Let's just see what it could be. You see, it's not responding. Cancel it. Sorry. Okay, so alright, we have some indentation problem. Make sure that it is supposed to be one tab difference. Okay, you don't have to make it at a difference of two tabs. It has to be at the space of just one tab. All right, and I hope this is the error and nothing else, and restart and all cells. I hope it's working now. Alright, it's working now. So we had added the home button. We need to test it. Okay, let's just write over here anything. For example, Donald Trump. Again, a haphazard title. Go over anything you like. Okay, so I need to move directly to the home page, which is our google.com. So I'm gonna press home. Okay, it's taking some time. Not working. Okay. All right. We as I said, I'm a lazy person. I forgot to modify it. Okay. This time it's gonna work, hopefully. Let's just open it up. Let's write something over here. Anything. Hello world. Anything you like. Hello program Wikipedia. I press on home button and it's taking me to Google. Okay, now it's working. So now we have the basic functionalities within our browser. We have the back button, forward button, reload button, home button, and so far by now everything is working. Okay, but these are not the core functionalities. Okay, so what is the core functionality that any browser should have? Well, let me tell you that. That is the search bar over here. Okay, we can search over here, but we do not have a search bar where we are supposed to type a URL and go directly towards that website. Okay, so how do we do that? Let's add that core functionality to our browser. Let's go back to the code. And alright, now over here I'm gonna add a few spaces over here so that it looks good. Okay, we will be creating an instant attribute that would be self dot URL bar, and we'll say that this is a Q line edit. This has to be capital. Edit. Okay, which means that you will be editing the text in a single line. Okay, and after that you need to tell your navbar that it needs to add some widget, and that would be self dot URL bar. Okay, that's it. Now we have created a text bar or search bar or anything you want to call it. Now it will be shown, okay, but it won't do anything. Let's just test it. Restart and run all. Okay. Okay. So as you can see over here, there is a text bar, and you can write over here. Let's say HTTP. I say I want to go to facebook.com. I'm gonna press enter, but it is not going to fetch me over there. The reason behind that is that we have not added any functionality within it. So we're gonna add some functionality to it. Let's get started with it. I'm gonna go back to the code. Let me just close this thing. Okay, now over here, right over here, we say that in the self dot URL bar, if someone presses the return key, if the return is pressed, then in that case you make a connection. You basically navigate to that URL, navigate to URL, right? Now we will define a method where we will basically grab the text from the text bar so that we get to know what is the text, and when the return key is pressed, we are able to visit that URL. Okay, so over here, similar to def navigate home, we're gonna define this. Make sure one tab space. We're gonna define navigate to URL. This is the one that we mentioned up there. Okay, so over here, oh, who's gonna mention the parameters? It's gonna be initial and colon. Okay, now we're in the class, in the method. Now we need to fetch the URL that is written in the text box, right? We say that URL is equal to self dot URL bar. We declared it, and we need to fetch the text, right? And now we will be calling the self dot browser, right? And we will be setting the URL, which is always going to be in the QURL form, like always, and we say that this is going to be the fetch text that we had stored in URL. Okay, now let's see what we have done so far. I'm gonna run the code. Oh, it feels so good when the code opens without any errors, you know. Let's just wait for a few seconds. Sadly, error is a part of my life. Let's get back to it and see what's the problem. Okay. I just got to know what's the problem. We have over here, this is supposed to be capital. I hope it fixes. And let's just run it now. I'm gonna restart the kernel, run all. And now it's working, finally. Okay, so make sure you don't repeat the mistakes that I have told you not to do them. Okay, I'm just a lazy person, and I might say I'm a beginner, but you just have to make sure you don't make these mistakes. Okay, these are the case sensitive mistakes that you are not supposed to make. So let's just get back to our topic, and we say that I'm gonna go to facebook.com. Okay, and you see it's working. That is great. Now let's say I'm gonna go to twitter.com. It's working. That is great. But I think there is gonna be a one problem. Yeah, you see, I went back to Facebook, and over here it is still twitter.com. The reason behind this is that we have not updated this change in the URL. Okay, so we're gonna do that. Let's get back to our code, and we just need to fetch the change in the URL, the change in text. So we'll say that, hey, browser, if the URL changes, it is changed, you need to make a connection, right? You need to update the URL. Now, like always, we're gonna define it. Okay, I'm gonna define it over here. One tab space, define update URL, and the initial parameters, and this time it has to be a Q. You can write it anything, you can write it URL or anything. I'm gonna write it Q. Basically this Q is going to be the change in the text, okay, that we are going to grab. And now we say that, oh, it didn't go in the function because I didn't put the colon over here. Okay, now we're gonna say that basically we are calling the self.url bar, and we need to make sure that it is a string, right? So we say that set the text to Q, which is the grabbed text from the search bar, and make sure that it is string. Okay, and that's it. So now we are done with the code, everything, and we are going to have a look at the final form of our browser, our Google Chrome basically. And you see we have a fancy cool Google Chrome like browser, and it is fully functional. We have back button, we have forward button, we have reload button, we have home button, we have the search bar where we can search anything, we can go anywhere. Okay, it is our browser, we do not have any restrictions. We can go to Twitter, we can go to Facebook, we can go anywhere. And if we have to go to home page directly, we can do that. Okay, if we want to go forward, we can do that. Okay, let's say Wikipedia. I'm gonna go backward, I'm gonna go forward. Okay, I'm gonna reload, I'm gonna go to home page. I have the basic necessities, the functionalities, and the core functionalities that any advanced browser needs. Alrighty, so that is all, guys. If you liked this video, you learned something, you have gained a great skill. You designed your own Google Chrome with the Python language using PyQt5. So if you liked this video, please like and subscribe this channel, AI Sciences. Okay, thank you, and see you next time.